Is he out, sir?
He is here. He's muted. He's coming.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Bonner.
That motion carries with Mr. Clark, Ms. Davis, and Mr. Garrett voting no, Mr. Franham out.
Again, that's to go through the process regarding naming. Okay.
Okay. Our next delegation, item number C, Ms. Ronic West, regarding equity and prosperity for the underserved community.
Ms. West?
Yes.
Ms. West?
Yes.
All right. Again, welcome to the commission meeting this afternoon. You have 5 minutes. If you would state for the record your name and address, and then you can proceed. 5 minutes.
Ronic West, 826 Lake Terrace Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30904. And I do have a PowerPoint, and I want to know if I'm controlling the PowerPoint or if IT is.
IT is.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, commissioners, mayor, and delegation. I'm Ronic West, the president of the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm here to talk about the state of emergency for Black America, health, equity, and prosperity. Please go to the next slide. I'm going to cover today GABC overview, Augusta GA data, state of emergency for Black America, case study, projects and initiatives. Please go to the next slide. Please go to the next slide. Okay, just really quickly over the overview for the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. We have a growing membership, over 1,000 attendees at past events, combined views of virtual workshops, over 100,000 views and events, roundtables, business tips, and over financial literacy. We also hold several annual events as far as the pitch competition, business economic panel, and everything else you see in front of you. Please go to the next slide, sir. As an organization in Augusta GA data, we're not going to cover that because I know you guys know that well, but as an organization, I just want to point out, you can go to the next slide, that we decided as an organization, we will serve our members and non-members because we need an organization here that is all about the community. Please go to the next slide. Okay, what I'm here to do is really state our case for becoming a funding source and the need to directly impact nonprofits and small businesses and the state of emergency for Black America. Please go to the next slide. Throughout historically, Black Americans have been left out of the acts when you have war or pandemics that happen in America. I know a lot of times we do talk about slavery, which was a great impact to Black America, but I want to talk about the Homestead Act, the Grant Act, Fair Labor Standards Act. A lot of times when the acts first got started, they left out Black Americans. That's how you get to the gap today. And then throughout the South, you had Black codes and Jim Crow. We had the war on drugs, which was in 1980, and then the crime bill, which is in 1994. That, of course, disproportionately affected Black families, which we know the foundation of building wealth is with the Black families. 2008 economic crisis disproportionately affected Black wealth and destroyed the middle class, which we have not been able to recover from. Black businesses received only 0.5% of the SBA disadvantaged business package that was given out during the Obama administration in redlining and gentrification. Please go to the next slide. Current barriers for Black America. And I want to point out with these barriers that reimbursement programs do not work for Black businesses and Black families because of the barriers that I'm going to go through here. Zero median wealth is projected to happen for the Black community by 2053. Job discrimination is the same since 1989. There's a 228-year wealth gap. Black families are the #1 homeless group in America according to HUD right now. AI will reskill about 4.5 million jobs that will affect the Black community directly. 30% of those jobs in Augusta market will be impacted. The solutions must go beyond jobs. I will say that again. The solutions must go beyond jobs. Revenue of white-owned businesses about 440K, Black-owned about 70K. Black-owned businesses are less approved for loans. 80% of Black businesses use their own funds to start up. The net worth for white is about 170K versus black net worth is 17K. Please go to the next slide. Hello. Okay. And then what brought us here today is the COVID-19 impact. So the impact for COVID-19 really disproportionately affected the Black community. 41% of Black-owned businesses are projected to close. We believe those numbers will be higher once the pandemic is over. We're still dealing with that. Majority of Black-owned businesses that applied for PPP were denied. 95% of Black-owned businesses were shut out of small business initiatives. Blacks have a 3 to 4 increased risk of dying from COVID-19, and unemployment has doubled last year from Augusta. And of course, for the Black community, it's usually 4% higher than what you see on the labor statistics. Please go to the next slide. Case studies and initiatives. Please go over to the next slide. What we want to point out is that they have had national initiatives that have directly impact Black businesses and organizations. Facebook, PayPal, NAACP, but that brings you into a national pool. And then also a lot of times they do not go into the smaller markets like Augusta, Savannah, Macon, and Athens. Athens, Georgia was able to create out of their CARES Act funding a 1.6 million out of their 6.6 million that directly impacted Black nonprofits, Black chambers, and Black businesses. And that's what we're looking here to commission for today. Please go to the next slide. We're looking to establish a micro lending program, a new source in the Augusta, Georgia area for our Black business owners, nonprofits, and so forth through the Great Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce. We also looking to get technical assistance dollars so we can help with reporting and accountability for business transitions, business support, and collaborating so we can get access to our Black businesses for government contracting. We support the disparity study that is coming out of the commission that you guys are currently in talk of. And we also want a commission for a database that tracks all business data. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to assisting and working together for the Greater Augusta River region.
Thank you, Ms. West. Ms. West, Ms. West. Ms. West.
Yes, I'm back.
All right.
Sorry.
All right, just pause. Don't mind the alarm. We've got a series of questions for you. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Am I muted?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to say to Ms. West, I appreciate her coming before this body and bringing those statistics that we know is true, that we know that there's a great need. We just talked about the COVID money that's coming down. I'm hoping that this body will consider some of the things Ms. West has brought to us that we already know about that we have not addressed. Now, she mentioned several things, and one of them was the disparity study. Disparity study that cost us some $500,000, Mr. Mayor. Sit on the shelf for a long time. We finally put it off, but it was sit so long till we was unable to do anything with it. We're now in the process of doing another disparity study, which some of my colleagues don't agree with. And I don't mind that, but I just know that it's important to do disparity study by law. I brought that issue up several times. Disparity study have proved that Augusta, Georgia was discriminating against women and minorities. We have not addressed that. We have not talked about that. We act as if it's went away by itself. With this Black Lives Matter and all lives matter, I get that. But it's been evident here lately that the mistreatment of people have not always been fair. And so I want to say to Ms. West again, I certainly appreciate her coming before this body. I think she needs to continue to come before this body and continue to update this body on what the Black Chamber is really all about and what they're doing. As so many of us don't have an opportunity to hear that information she just put out today. But with this CARES Act, the COVID money that's coming down, I'm hoping, I'm going to be advocating that we do something to assist versus trying to find a need, knowing there is a need, knowing there has been some neglect for many years. Now, I can talk on this all day. I'm gonna let it go right there, Mr. Mayor, but hopefully Ms. West has not come in vain, that she'll remind us and keep us reminded of how important her slides here. Thank you, Ms. West, again.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. West, thank you.
Nobody got no questions, man. Everybody's satisfied. Everybody understand that. Everybody.
You know,
All right, Commissioner from the 10th.
hello, Ms. West. How are you today? I had the opportunity to have a lengthy conversation.
West?
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to have a very lengthy, in-depth conversation with Ms. West and Mr. Hill, who is putting this program together. And I would just like to say that the program that they presented was very precise in what they intended to do and what they would like to do among the community, even to the fact of the monies that they're going to be giving out. And I think this is important for everybody to understand. The money that they're planning on giving out to help these entrepreneurs and these small businesses is just not going to be a gift. It's going to be, you're going to have to go through training. You're going to have to understand the legalities of it. You're going to have to produce. You're going to have to perform. So it's not just a giveaway program, it's a building program. They gave me information on Athens, Clark County. And I had the opportunity to reach out to a couple of people in that community about this program. And from what I'm hearing, it's being implemented correctly. So I would just like to say, going forward, that I'm not in any kind of opposition to this program. If it is, and I asked them, would there be checks and balances and accountability? And they equivocally told me yes. And I trust what they say. So going forward, I don't have a problem with this program. I just like to see if we can do something with it. That's all I've got to say, Mr. Mayor and Ms. West.
All right, fantastic, thank you. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 2nd.
Yes, Mr. I'd just like to endorse. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'd just like to endorse Mrs. West's presentation. The program that she's speaking of and my colleague through Athens, Clark County. It's a real good program, and it also will help the city to get and become aware of and find out about a lot of our small minority business owners and nonprofits. And that program will give an opportunity, I believe, to help a lot of the small nonprofit and organizations that normally don't receive any type of reasonable funding. So it's something I agree with my colleague from the 10th that we should look at and see how beneficial we could be to the organization and the organization to Augusta, Richmond County. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner from the 1st.
Mr. Mayor, if either one of my colleagues want to put that in the form of a motion, I'll second it.
So move.
What are we motioning and voting on?
Commissioner from the 1st said put it in the form of motion, and I put it in the form of motion. And I don't know, Ms. West had brought a good program. First of all, I think the scarce money coming in. We need to make sure that we use whatever we can to promote this entity. The Commissioner from the 10th just talked about what a good program and how it was vetted, how he agrees that it's a good thing to move forward with. We know about the small businesses who've been left out for a number of years. We know about the number of businesses that have been closed down who didn't get any assistance, have started with their own $2. So my motion is to use whatever money that the city have gotten to help Ms. West in this venture to move this forward. I don't think she comes just to get us the information. I think that we ought to look at how we can assist in promoting that at this day and time. That's my motion.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask a question again because I'm not quite sure you fully articulated a motion around any particular action. So let's get some more discussion before we go there, and then I'll weigh in at that time. All right. I'm going to the commissioner from the 8th.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I guess part of my question is going to be what you were asking exactly. What is the motion on the floor? Are we suggesting allocating $1.6 million to the Black Chamber? Is that what the motion is, gentlemen?
I can second that. I don't know where 1.6.
No, well, you know, if you listen to her presentation, she said Athens put 1.6 million out of their allocation towards that. So that's, you know, I'm just trying to get some clarity here.
Well, we got this money that's coming in now, and I think this is the right time. We talked about other agencies that need funds. This agency certainly needs it to make sure that they get implemented, the things that have been neglected. See, it's hard to catch up. That's the first thing. And the longer we get behind, it's going to be even harder to catch up.
I have the floor still. I know that you got some.
Okay, what did you finish then? I thought you were waiting on my response, but what did you finish?
I was just trying to get a dollar figure.
All right, so let's suspend on dollar figures, etc.
Okay,
Commissioner Garrett, if you, I know you got more. So Commissioner Garrett, if you'll just yield for a moment, you do have the floor. Ms. West, you've given a presentation. What are you directly requesting of the Augusta Commission?
To look into what Athens Clarke County did for the CARES Act. They did have they had 6.6 million for their CARES Act funding. What they did was they allocated 1.6 million directly to the Black community. They gave to their nonprofit, to their Black Chamber organization, which is Northeast Georgia Business Alliance, which we work together throughout the Southeast. So we're a coalition of chambers. So we're not just working for this to happen in Augusta, but we're working for a coalition to make sure it happens in every city from Savannah to Beaufort, Black Chamber of Commerce, Macon, and so forth. But they gave $500,000 to start their fund in Athens Clarke County, and then out of the other portion, they gave to other entities that were Black-led, Black-founded, that are doing dynamic things in the community with low budget. And so that's what we're looking to do, because this is not taking money from any other organization. This is the opportunity to start a new fund program in Augusta, Georgia, which we know is greatly needed from a diverse group that can get the funds in the community with reporting and accountability and technical assistance and mentoring behind it. Beaufort Black Chamber of Commerce, which is a CDF, they've been open for over 20 years. They are currently were a microlender in 2011, and they are CDFI. They sit on our board and helped us get started in Augusta. That's why you see the Great Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce moving as it is. Microlending has always been one of the programs we wanted to start since 2017. And with the pandemic and all the work we've done since March to help business owners and everything, we were like, we have to get a micro-lending program established in Augusta. And we see the opportunity through the CARES Act funding, just like Athens, Georgia was able to do for their community. So that's what we're asking for Augusta to do as well.
All right, so let me do this. I think this is probably appropriate where I can weigh in at. Commissioner from the 6th, I do see your hand. What Ms. West is, again, coming to present and articulate is important. I don't think there's any question. The commissioners from the 1st, the 2nd, and the 9th have registered that level of concern and interest. I think what needs to happen, again, I would encourage the commission that if there is a motion to do anything, it is to engage Ms. West and the Greater Augusta Black Chamber of Commerce with reviewing what the city of Athens, Clarke County has done, particularly what they've most recently done in concert with Winterville. I spoke with Mayor Kelly Gertz on last night, very dear friend of mine. We've talked about a number of initiatives that they have rolled out in terms of using the CARES Act funding. Early on with this first round or 30% money, they've done a number of things, which is what Ms. West is generally referring to. And as a result of that, they entered into an agreement with the city of Winterville, which is adjacent to them, to build capacity. The presentation that she just gave, particularly with regards to one of our last slides around projects and initiatives, that talks about directly what it is that they hope to be able to accomplish going forward as an organization. I think that those are appropriate steps and or actions to be taken. And so what I would offer to the commission, particularly in light of this request, more importantly, it's not so much a request, but a delegation. You've got item number C, you've got item letter E, and the gentleman from F has waived and will perhaps come back at another time, but you have item E as well. But if you take a step forward and go to the commission agenda, there is a discussion under item number 11 that probably is a complementary item.
That item was asked to be deleted once we get there, Mayor.
Okay, right. And so that's fine. But I think that what should happen, absent using the term subcommittee, absent using the term task force, I think it will be appropriate for us to take items C and E and have a broader discussion. I would also offer to Ms. West that most recently, we've worked very closely with the Kaufman Foundation. The Kaufman Foundation is probably the nation's foremost organization in terms of working with communities to build capacity, to build entrepreneurs, and without question, they're working and providing grants and doing phenomenal work in terms of trying to grow the capacity of minority businesses. I have brought relationships here in Augusta. They have provided a grant most recently to the clubhouse for them, a grant in the amount of $499,000. That is just another avenue to help the chamber, the Metro Chamber, Black Chamber, to build capacity and have a mechanism to do some of the things that they're talking about, particularly in terms of the community development, financial institutions efforts in generating economic growth and opportunity for underserved businesses and or populations. That's what I would offer and encourage this body to give grave consideration to doing that and then convene in a broader meeting. The mayor of Athens has offered to be helpful in having that conversation with our community as well in terms of how they are taking a step forward and leaning into the challenges associated with growing businesses that are led by minority entrepreneurs, et cetera. So that's what I would offer and pose that to the gentlemen from the first, the second, and the ninth.
Okay.
All right, now I'm going to back to the commission from the eighth.
Thank you, Mayor. In regards to this, I agree with the discussion that we continue to, help those in our community that do need it. But I do want to caution my colleagues that before we go giving away all the CARES Act funds that are coming into Augusta, we need to make sure that Augusta is in a good financial position to take care of all of her citizens. There are shortfalls within our current budgets that we need to address before we, go on this spending spree. I appreciate what Ms. West has said. I definitely want to support that, but we need to make sure before we make, really, we're talking about spending over $2 million today out of CARES Act funding that I'm not even sure has ended up in our bank account yet. So before we go spend all the money that's coming our way, we need to really, hit the pause button and make sure that we have the proper accounting practices put in place, as well as the legal ramifications for how we can allocate this money.
All right, I'm going to the commissioner from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr.
Yes,
Mayor, I agree with staying on point, exactly what Ms. West asked of us, to seriously take a look at what she's offering us and working with the city of Athens and looking at what Athens is doing to get more information and find a way to support her, as well as also we got to look at CARES Act 1. As I understand it, we got the 30% in hand. The 70%, as I understand, we've been approved for that, as we've heard much earlier today. So pretty much we have done what we need to do with that money. And I don't know when CARES Act 2 is going to come, which we anticipate. I don't know how soon that's going to be, but we look forward to doing further allocations in that, because in the ones we do need to do some things to tighten ourselves. We've already reached in that today, potentially, based on what we did much earlier. But I do look forward to supporting Ms. West in terms of what she's doing, and also honor her request. Like, request simply was to ask us to, hey, take a look at what I'm doing, a serious look, give us your time. Look what Athens Clark is doing at the same time. But I do have a question for Ms. West for clarity, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind.
please do. Go ahead.
Ms. West.
Yes, Commissioner.
Can you hear me? Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Ms. West, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
Great. I have one question. When you went back to the $1.6 million, you done a breakout of $500,000. What happened to the $500,000?
The 500K was to set up the new micro lending program, which is what we want to establish in Augusta, Georgia. So it's not as if the organization they're keeping apart for technical assistance, and then the other portion, of course, would be micro lending, a revolving loan program, a guaranteed grant program, and a guaranteed loan program that includes that mentorship piece, that classroom piece that we're talking about through Money Smart, and that piece of reporting back to the commission and delegation what those businesses were able to do with those funds with the assistance from that local organization. The other portion was then divvied out to the community, to other nonprofits and business owners that they found doing dynamic things with little to no budget.
But in the very same community, right?
Yes.
Look, I thought I heard you saying surrounding counties. I heard the mayor say something earlier about an adjoining.
Yeah, I think the mayor has talked to the mayor in Athens, Georgia, from my understanding, if I clarify that, and they have a agreement with another town that looks like maybe they're kind of making sure those efforts are felt throughout the community and reaching outside of also the Athens, Georgia area to make sure that initiative does impact that greater community, which of course we're totally on board to do whatever areas you want to do. What we want to do as a chamber is we want to we're doing a project where we're already getting District Max set up. We're doing stakeholder meetings. We want to understand how to impact each district, and then really get into those districts. And we're hoping to have the delegation from Augusta involved in that.
Okay, well, then, Ms. West, for the record, once again, I fully support what you're doing. And if I do want to honor what you've asked us to do, be more specific, do exactly what you do. Give us time to look at what you're doing and find a way to be of assistance to you. And that's what's going to be my motion, to honor her request today before maybe a substitute motion at this time.
Yeah. All right, thank you. I think again, if we be prepared for that, Commissioner, from the 6th. It may be necessary, but it may not be.
Okay.
Just depending on how they respond. All right, so I've got the Commissioner from the 2nd. His hand was up. Commissioner from the 2nd, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Go ahead, sir.
If my colleagues would agree, I would suggest that we would get together with Ms. West, because the program, she has the whole program already written out, steps, tracking, justifying, improving the disbursements of funding and all of that. And I believe if we sit down with an opportunity to look at her package and address all the issues that we have there, it'll be more productive than each of us coming up with a question this afternoon, whereas we could have all the material in front of us and it'll be an easier decision to make.
Yeah, I think that's what I was suggesting, that you don't take any action on this today other than what the presenter has given you, and that is that we'll convene a meeting with a task force or a group of commissioners and get the information from Athens, Clark County, and have that broader discussion, which then allows us to get to a place of what it is the community may be involved in being a part of. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually met with Ms. West, had a great meeting, and I agree with Mr. Clark on John Clark on what he said. And for that reason, I make a motion to approve the 500K micro lending that she's requesting today.
Second.
Okay. All right. Commissioner from the 3rd.
Thank you, Mayor. I also met and had a great meeting with Mrs. West the other day, and I'm very impressed with what she brought forward. And I am in support of, trying to help out different communities. I just think we're going to have a large list of people and groups with their programs in need, and we are still not 100% sure exactly how much funds we have that we're going to be able to allocate. And that was why I wasn't comfortable today with the paying college request as well. I think we're going to run out quickly, and I want to make sure that the piece of the pie gets around to, as many programs and organizations as we can. So I just wanted to know that I am supporting helping. I need to have a better grasp of what we're dealing with and how much we can allocate to make it kind of go further than we want it to. So I wanted her to know that I appreciate what she's doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I agree with everything my colleagues have said, but I realize the bag's got 2 holes in it, one at the top and one at the bottom. And if we're not careful, then all of the funds will be disseminated in different places. We won't be able to track that. But I want to remind my colleagues of what this government did years ago, similar to what Ms. West is talking about. We put 2.3, I believe, million in the bank for the assistance she's talking about now, and made 2 loans out of it, and just sit there. So this is a need. That's all I'm saying. This is a need, and we need to make sure that we don't just talk about it, but there's some action behind what we talk, Mr. Mayor. I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it right there and let you handle it.
All right. Commissioner from the 6th. You're muted, Commissioner.
I haven't had the pleasure of seeing Ms. West's plan, but I'm gonna trust my colleagues that they like what they saw. But however, I do have some things here, the 2 things that needs to be identified. If we're gonna do the $500,000, that need to say where that $500,000 is gonna come. They're gonna come from CARES Act 2, CARES Act 1, whatever. That's the first thing. The second thing is that Ms. West needs to sit down with our attorney or whomever and find out what our requirements are as an organization, and we can find out what she can do and how she can best carry that out for us. Right now, she don't know us other than I can't say all of us, but some I should have been impressed, and I do trust their judgment. But I think there need to be a little familiarity to what our criteria is to give out money as well. But I fully support it, but let's get to a point about that. That may be in very well CARES Act 2 and not 1. I'm not fussing about that one. But I do think there needs to be some type of understanding what our requirements are and expectations of any organization that we give the resources to, especially because what she's asking is a very unique one, but I think at the same time a very needed one to be able to disperse the funds, because many times as we've given out $1 million out of ACD, and they're struggling to get it out. I don't know because of paperwork or whatever it is, but they're struggling. So actually with her expertise and familiar with what she's done in the past in terms of her business acumen, that maybe she can help with that process. So I'm not against it, I support it, but there she needs to be some familiarity to what we expect as a government.
All right, so Madam Clerk, we've got a series of things that have been tossed around. Let's establish what our posture is right now.
Okay.
What I know there was
a main motion on the floor made by Commissioner Marion Williams, seconded by Mr. Fenoy, was for Augusta, Richmond County to engage with the Black Chamber of Commerce, Ms. West organization, to review Athens, Clark County City Alliance in an attempt to duplicate their program in Augusta. For example, the micro lending program, the micro grant program relative to CARES Act funding, promoting this program.
All right, that's the main motion. That's what I understood as well. Which I think is consistent. All right, and the substitute.
The substitute motion was to approve $500,000 allocation to Ms. Ronic West's proposed plan.
Okay. All right. Okay, very good. All right, let's just go ahead and vote these things up or down here.
Okay, so we'll start with the substitute motion.
With the substitute, yeah.
To approve $500,000 allocation to Ms. Ronic West's proposed plan, the Black Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
No, ma'am, not at this time.
Mr. Fenoy,
No.
Mr. Franum,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes.
Mr. Son,
No.
Mr. Science,
Yes.
Mr. Science, yes, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Bobby Williams,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dennis Williams,
No.
Mr. Marion Williams.
No.
Mr. Mayor, we have, that motion fails with Mr. Clark voting yes, Mr. Franum, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Science, Mr. Bobby Williams. Voting no, Ms. Davis, Mr. Fenoy, Mr. Hassan, Mr. Dennis Williams, Mr. Marion Williams. Mr. Mayor?
No.
No. That motion failed with the mayor voting no.
Back to the main motion.
The main motion. Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Madam Clerk, can you read it again? I'm sorry.
That's a book.
I
okay.
apologize.
The main motion is for Augusta Richmond County to engage with the Black Chamber of Commerce to review Athens-Clarke County Alliance in an attempt to duplicate their program in Augusta, referencing micro lending program, micro grant relative to CARES Act funding, promoting this program.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mr. Fenoy,
Yes.
Mr. Franum,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garrett,
No.
Mr. Son,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Sias,
Yes.
Mr. Bobby Williams. Is he muted, sir?
It did. Commissioner from the 5th, you're muted.
Yeah, read the motion for me again.
The motion, a synopsis of it, is for Augusta Richmond County to engage with the Black Chamber of Commerce, Ms. Ronic West Group, to review Athens-Clarke program.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, ma'am.
all right. Mr. Dennis Williams,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Marion Williams.
You don't have to read them, Ms. Bonner. Yes.
That motion carries with Mr. Garrett voting no.
All right, Ms. West, we will be contacting you and convening a small group to meet with you and to engage with the city of Athens, Georgia, around the program that they've implemented. All right, Commissioner from the 1st, State Inquiry.
Yeah, is it possible that Ms. West could get us a copy of her presentation and a copy of her proposal?
It's in your books. Ms. Bonner, would you take that presentation and just forward it to the members of the commission once more?
I will do it, sir.
Okay. Did you like the way I prefaced that once more?
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Much appreciated. I may have a program for you. I may have an appreciation.
That was from my good friend from the 1st over there when he says, well, one more again.
One more time.
Yes, yes. Okay.
All right, Ms. West, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner and Mayor.
All right.
Okay. Our next delegation, Ms. Natalie Bryan, regarding introduction of the PEARL to create toolkits to address the disparate impacts of COVID-19 amongst African American communities in the arena of domestic, intimate partner violence and abuse.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mayor.
Ms. Bryan,
Yes, sir.
you have 5 minutes. If you'll state for the record again your name and your address and proceed.
Natalie Bryan, 2140 Reserve Lane, Augusta, Georgia, 30907. I am an organization with equity and prosperity of the underserved community. My organization is called PEARL. The acronym stands for Providing Education and Advocacy to Rebuild Lives. PEARL is a nonprofit. A part of our mission is to promote advocacy and education to the community through comprehensive developmental programs and services. PEARL has educated over 300 clinicians and community members on mental health, abuse, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and human trafficking. We have implemented conversations in local churches, educational facilities on healthy touch, prevention of child sexual abuse, mental health, and human trafficking. COVID in the African American community has been damaging. I just want to give some statistics from SAMSHO, who are indicated about intimate partner violence, domestic violence, and child abuse considerations. They are talking about how 1 in 4 women and nearly 1 in 10 women have experienced intimate partner violence. They are also talking about how the CDC reports at least 1 in 7 children have experienced child abuse and neglect. We all know that with COVID, families are not allowed to escape from one another. The pressures of the disease have put people who are in precarious situations in an increased situation of danger. I was also looking at the fact of Georgia. We are number 46 in the 50 states when it comes to overall health. We are ranked 10th in events involving men killing women. We are number 37 in when it comes to education. We in Augusta, Georgia, 57.2% of the population is African American. And I wanted to bring forth that over 37% of domestic violence homicides were witnessed by children. So what is it that PEARL can do? We were looking to create and distribute toolkits for families to diffuse conflicts and stressful situations, to provide education and counseling services for both abusers and victims of domestic and intimate partner violence, child abuse, and neglect, to develop curriculum videos and resources that could be utilized throughout the community, including churches and schools, and helping to identify high-risk situations and provide possible methods of reduction of crisis situations. Having experts advocate for healthy conflict resolution through a virtual platform, and create interactive scripted content on YouTube that poses questions that our participants can actually change the outcome of the situation. My last talking point is I just wanted the constituents to know, I just wanted the commissioners and the mayor to know that I am one of the small programs or small businesses here in Augusta, Georgia that have been denied the PPP. And I became a part of the Chamber of Black Commerce because they did help me with educating me and giving me tools to help be a better business owner. But for most small business owners, especially African American, the paperwork, the documentation, and even access to funding has been, it has been difficult, especially when you're working to create funding to be able to start and provide services in a community with your own funding or limited funding. We also this year had to cancel many of our funding and outreach programs because of COVID. So we were going to have an APB, which was an abduction prevention program, basics around human trafficking. We had the GBI involved. We had local law enforcement involved. We also had Dr. Charnel Miles, who is one of the major leaders in when it comes to human trafficking in Atlanta, Georgia. Just wanting to bring to everyone's attention that just last week, Operation Not Forgotten had picked up 39 children in Atlanta, Georgia, ages 3 through 17, and half of them utilized for sexual trafficking. 1 in every 40 seconds, a child is being sexually trafficked. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. All right, there are no questions.
Our next delegation, item E, Miss Ernesia Wright, regarding Georgia Soul Women's Basketball Organization's Equity and Prosperity for Underserved Community.
All right. Ms. Wyman. Good afternoon. If you'll state for the record your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mr. Mayor. My name is Ernesia Wright. Address is 1810 Eva Lane, Hepzibah, Georgia, 30815. As I stated, my name is Ernesia Wright, and I'm an Augusta native and student athlete and graduate of Laney High and Augusta University. I'm a former professional basketball player and currently serve in the Army as an active duty captain. I was fortunate to grow up in a dual parent household that was financially stable. But unfortunately, my parents lacked the basketball scholarship knowledge needed to assist me in the college selection process. Even though my parents drove me to Atlanta often, and I played for one of the top teams in Atlanta, no one educated my parents on the steps or process of successfully securing a basketball scholarship. I received letters from mostly Division I colleges, and I will tell you to this day, many of those letters are still at home in the shoebox in my parents' house. I did sign a full 4-year scholarship at Augusta University and finished 12th in all-time scoring, 5th in assists, and 4th in steals. This is one of the many reasons I created the Georgia Soul Women's Basketball Organization in 2016 to help educate aspiring female athletes and their parents on how to successfully secure a college basketball scholarship. The second reason behind me creating this organization is to give women athletes an opportunity to continue displaying their talents after they have completed their college basketball eligibility and received their degree. Not everyone can make the WNBA or overseas rosters, and many of them do not have aspirations of playing overseas or in the WNBA after college. So by creating the Georgia Soul, it gives them an opportunity to come back home, start working in their field, while continuing to play in front of family and friends and giving back to the younger girls in the community, as well as sharing lessons learned in college. The organization is made up of hardworking professionals who volunteer because they have a passion for the game of basketball and giving back to the young ladies in the CSRA. Our mission is to inspire young girls and women in our local community through mentorship, leadership, encouragement, sisterhood, and community outreach. We have some of the best athletes in the state of Georgia right here in Richmond County, but we are lacking some of the necessary resources or funding that's needed to be on the same scale as places like Atlanta, Georgia. Many of the parents cannot afford to pay for quality trainers or resources needed. There are 9 middle schools, 8 high schools, that's over 200 ladies with at least 12 players per team that we can impact, mentor, train, and educate right here in Augusta, Georgia. That number doesn't include the recreation, YMCA, or independent teams. There are people preying on parents who are not educated on the steps to receiving a college basketball scholarship or what to look for in quality basketball trainers and are charging astronomical fees and giving bogus services. These same services the Georgia Soul provides because we have subject matter experts that have already been through this process, including individuals like myself. Did you all know that 12 ladies that are on the Georgia Soul basketball roster have all received basketball scholarships to college and have completed their 4-year degree? Just to give you an example of the type of mentors and role models we have, Khadijah Cave, Laney High, Baylor University, WNBA training camp selectee and current professional basketball player in Israel. Ebony Fields, Laney High, Georgia State University, current math teacher and head women's basketball coach at Butler High School, I apologize. I could go on and on about the extraordinary ladies we have representing the city of Augusta, but for the sake of time, you can visit GeorgiaSoulBasketball.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. In 2017, we were the Women's Blue Chip Basketball League National Champions. and each member of the organization received a certificate of recognition from Mayor Carly Davis at the Augusta Commons for Georgia Soul Day. We have many amazing and powerful individuals in Augusta supporting us. The only thing we are missing is a little bit of financial support from the city of Augusta. The pandemic has been tough to maneuver through. We were scheduled to kick off games this season at Augusta University starting May 16th with premium courtside seating and hospitality. We provide opportunities for our volunteers, interns, and mentees in the organization to gain hands-on and game day experience. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, our season and many events we had planned this year were canceled. Fortunately, with a few financial donors, we have been able to stay afloat and take care of bills. We were able to move some of the scheduled events and workshops to virtual. I would be here all night if I talked about all the things the organization has done and the things we would like to continue doing. But the bottom line is we need financial assistance to continue making an impact and doing great things in the community. I think we have proved the last 3 years that we have run a successful, professional, and premier women's basketball organization that represents the city of Augusta with dignity and respect. Give us an opportunity to show you how and where your contribution will be best used. Before I go, I wanted to highlight the Black Chamber of Commerce and their extraordinary efforts in helping educating Black businesses before and during the pandemic. Since the pandemic, they have provided weekly member check-ins. They have been providing top-tier virtual workshops, training, and information sessions to help educate and assist business owners. This is an amazing organization that gives more than they receive. This is all I have. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wideman. All right, Madam Clerk, if at all possible, we are at that point now where we're ready to dive into the agenda items. And I'd like for us to run the clock and move as expeditiously as possible.
Okay. Our consent agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 3, items 1 through 3. And for the record, Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a correction on item number 3, that approval by the commission of this ordinance was September 18th, August 18th, opposed to September 18th. But with that correction, our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 3.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. And noted on item number 3 from the consent agenda. Again, today is the second reading of that. Fantastic. All right, Chair will entertain any motions to add. Chair recognizes the Commissioner from the 8th.